Today, we're going to dive into something we walk on every single day, but almost never think about: the hidden architecture of soil. It's this incredible, invisible foundation that supports, well, everything. From our gardens to huge farms, its health is absolutely crucial for the planet.
You've seen this a million times, right? A big downpour hits, and instead of the ground just drinking it all up, the water just sits there. Or even worse, it starts running off down the street. That's not just a small inconvenience. It's a huge red flag that something's really off with the soil structure.
So let's get right to it. The problem with those puddles isn't really the water itself. No, it's a symptom of a much bigger issue, one that starts just a few millimeters right under our feet.
See, here's the thing. If that rainwater can't soak into the soil, it has to go somewhere, so it becomes runoff. And that runoff is a menace. It carries away precious topsoil, it contributes to flooding, and in a cruel twist of irony, it leaves the plants in that very same soil totally parched.
To really get why this is happening, we've got to zoom in, way in. We need to meet the microscopic hero of this whole story, the soil aggregate.
So what in the world are they? Well, think of them as tiny little building blocks that make up healthy soil. They're basically clumps of sand, silt, and clay, but the real magic is the stuff that holds them together. It's like a mortar made of these organic glues from decaying stuff, all woven together by a web of fungal strands. The results? This amazing, stable, sponge-like structure.
And why should you care about these little clumps? Oh, because they are everything. The spaces between these aggregates are like super highways for air and water to move through the soil. When they're stable, they're strong enough to not get blasted apart by rain. They make it easy for plant roots to explore. And, maybe most importantly, their presence tells you the soil is alive and kicking with all sorts of good biological activity.
And this picture, wow, it just says it all. On the left, that's degraded soil. See how it's just collapsed into this dense solid mass? Now look at the right, that's soil with plenty of organic matter. Look at that beautiful, crumbly cottage cheese texture. Those are stable aggregates, and that is exactly what we want to see.
So how does that gorgeous, healthy structure get destroyed? Well, there are two main bad guys. First, you've got rain splash impact. That's the raw, physical force of raindrops hammering the ground and just shattering these aggregates. But the second one, slaking, is often even more destructive. This happens when a dry aggregate gets wet way too fast. Air gets trapped inside, expands, and then, boom, it literally blows the aggregate apart from the inside.
Now we're going to see what happens when this breakdown goes down. When these aggregates are destroyed, it sets off this disastrous chain reaction that basically seals the soil shut from the top.
Just take a look at this diagram. In this top part, we're looking at healthy soil. You've got these nice, big, stable aggregates with plenty of space between them, these big pores. So when rain hits, it just flows right on through. You get a really high infiltration rate. Perfect.
But now check out what happens in the middle here. Those aggregates break down, right? And they release all these tiny little particles of sand and clay. Those particles get washed into all those open pores, and they just clog them up. It's like a traffic jam, creating this dense, impermeable layer right at the surface. And that's what leads to runoff.
This layer is called a soil seal, or a crust. And the really crazy part, this seal might only be a few millimeters thick, but that's all it takes to completely wreck the hydrology of an entire landscape. The infiltration rate just plummets, and a beautiful, life-giving rain suddenly turns into destructive runoff.
So, of course, the next question is, are we causing this? Is this our fault? Well, it turns out our land management practices play a massive role in weakening the soil. Scientists actually have a way to measure this whole sealing effect. It's called the skin factor, or SCAFE for short. You can just think of it as a score for how well water can get into the soil's surface. It's pretty simple. A score greater than 1 means you've got a nice, porous, open structure. Water gets in easy. A score less than 1, yeah, that means you've got a sealed, compacted surface. Not good.
And this is where it gets really dramatic. This graph is tracking the skin factor on a couple of fields right after they've been plowed. At first, the soil's all loosened up, so the factor is super hot. Look at that. Values above 4, even up to 8. But just watch what happens. Over the next 100 days, after just a few rainstorms, that value completely crashes to way below 1. That plowing created a temporarily loose but really unstable structure that just collapsed and sealed right over.
This chart basically spells out the answer for us. You can see it clear as day. Conventional tillage, that leads to the lowest ting factors. A sealed surface, no question. Conservation tillage is better. It's an improvement. But the clear winner is no-till farming. By not disturbing the soil, you allow that stable, porous structure to build and heal over time, which leads to the highest king factors and the healthiest soil.
Okay, so we've looked at the problem, we've looked at the cause, but I've got good news. This damage, it's not permanent. It's reversible. We can absolutely bring our soils back to life.
And the guiding principle behind all of this is actually really simple. We're not just trying to fix some physical problem, right? We are trying to create the perfect conditions for a vibrant, living ecosystem to come back and thrive. So how do we actually do it? Well, first, you've got to gently break up that compacted surface layer. Second, and this is so important, add a thick layer of organic mulch like compost. This does two things. It protects the surface from those hammering raindrops, and it feeds all the little critters in the soil that build the aggregates. Third, plant cover crops. Their roots will create new channels and add more organic matter. And finally, you have to stop the cycle of destruction. Minimize any future disturbance to protect that beautiful new structure you've worked so hard to rebuild.
And here's a fantastic, super practical tip you can use in your own backyard. It's called the ribbon test. Before you ever dig or even walk on your soil, just grab a handful, make sure it's moist, and give it a squeeze. If it crumbles apart easily, you're good to go. But if you can press it between your thumb and finger and it forms a long, clay-like ribbon, stop. It is way too wet. Working it when it's like that will destroy its structure and cause serious compaction.
So all of this leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We so often treat the ground as just this inert foundation, right? Something to build on, to pave over, to till up. What if we started to see it for what it really is? A complex, incredible, living system that we are a part of, and that our health is fundamentally tied to its health. It's something to think about, isn't it?